What stage is your brand in the awareness of domain names? Hey, Chris Zuiker with Media Options, help companies acquire the raw version of their brand, brokering some of the best domains on the planet. Check that out over at MediaOptions.com. Check out ChrisZuiker.com. I do a daily podcast over there. I'm on episode 800 and gazillion. Then a lot of podcasts, just kind of short stories, 5 minutes to 10 minutes about domaining, negotiating, my life stories, and kind of relate those back to the domain space. It's a lot of cool podcasts over there. Anyways, hey, listen, what stage is your brand in? What stage is your brand in? It's interesting. I did a LinkedIn post this last week. I'm going to share it with you here. And LinkedIn's post was basically the 5 stages of domain name awareness. And it was interesting because I'm kind of like developing this thesis, this framework as far as kind of deciding like where a company's at, where a marketer's at along this process. You know, the first stage is like any domain will do. In this stage, it's usually it's like a new startup, and they don't have a lot of money, and so they're just kind of maybe it's a hobby startup, right? And they go out and acquire any domain name. And I'll share some examples here in a second. The next step is my domain name is not my brand, right? We hear that quite a bit. It's like, it's not my brand. I'm like, no, you're really wrong. Like, it is your brand. My thesis is your domain name equals your brand equity. That's the second stage, okay? It goes from any domain will do to like, it's not my brand, right? But I want it in there somewhere. The next stage is, number 3 is I'll pay for the confusion. Like, they realize, hey, I've got a problem. Like, we can't acquire the raw version, but I'm okay with that and we'll pay for the confusion. Like, we're okay with the risk that is today. But I often say that like not owning the .com and the raw version is the biggest risk that a brand has. Okay, I call that global positioning. It's one of the 7 dimensions. I'll put a link down below as far as a video that I've done on the 7 dimensions. The next stage is I know I need it, but I don't believe I can do it. Okay, this is interesting because at this point, like I talked to a lot of founders, some of the coolest, like best marketers in the world, and some of the worst marketers in the world. It's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting, but we hear this quite a bit. It's like, hey, Chris, like I know I need it, right? We know we want it. It's kind of a grasp for us, but in the background, you can kind of tell in a sense, like there's like this self-confidence, like they like believe in their brand for the long term. Okay, maybe it's a startup, maybe it's like in a industry that's like maybe more fluid and like brands come and go. I don't know. I do know, but I mean, what I'm saying is like there's a lot in there. And then the next phrase is, the 5th stage of awareness is like, I want it. Like, listen, nothing's stopping me. I'm gonna get this thing. Whether that means lease financing, like whatever it takes. These are different 5 stages. Let's see here. I did an example of this on another post. I said, where is your brand in the process? And then I gave examples here. The first example is like any domain will do is like add to carrot. And I think I got this from Crunchbase. I don't know. Go and check. So clearly, like, hey, add to carrot, right? I'm not going to click on that. I don't know where it goes. The next one is like get-carrot is like, hey, my domain name is not my brand, right? Clearly, their brand is in there, but the hyphen and they're saying it's not the brand. The next one is I'll pay for the confusion. That's when kind of that next stage is they realize, hey, they need to own something, but typically they get like a my or a try, or they get an industry, whatever industry they're in. And this example was carrot medical. I'm sorry. Then it's I know we need it, but ... like I don't know if I can do it. Right now, listen, I'm picking on these brands because it was just an example that I had. I love carrot.com. I don't know exactly the stores for each of these. I know that each of these had the opportunity at one point, I believe, to acquire carrot.com, but only one company got it, right? Got the carrot. And the 5th stage, you can see carrot.com, like I'll own it and I'll own my brand of the future. Now, if you haven't heard carrot.com, I want to say it could be in my main video when you first come to my YouTube page, where I go over that, where they spent like $500,000. They chased this down over several years. They got it, they locked it up, because they believed in the mission and they believed in the mission, like I say ethos, but they believed in what they're building. They're like, listen, we're here for the long term, and we're going to show that, we're going to communicate that. They also realized that they had at one point they had a branding issue. Let's see, I'm going to switch cameras. They had a branding issue because they went to this conference, and people were like, I love on carrot. And they're like, no, but our brand's carrot. Our brand's carrot.com. Anyways, like, listen, what stage is your brand? What stage is your brand in this process? Are they in the? I'm going to scroll down here a second. Are you at the point where you're like, any domain will do, right? We're still kind of vetting out our company. And here's what I have to consider though, is like, there's a very small window of opportunity for most brands, okay? And for most great domain names to acquire the raw version of their brand. Now, we often give examples here of, that's just not going down. Anyways, we often give examples of, there's a very small window. And when that window, like when a company gets it, like they're just not gonna sell it. It's interesting because like when we're selling domain names, one of the selling points, but the conversation's like, well, hey, listen, if you had this domain, let's say the domain's $200,000, $300,000. And I came to you and I said, hey, we'll give you $600,000 for this. Would you sell it to me? Like after you bought it, after you own it? And I kind of pause. And the answer's like, no, we wouldn't. Okay, I said, okay, if I give you $1 million, would you sell it? And they're like, no, we wouldn't. What about $2 billion? No, we wouldn't. Exactly. So in essence, like, this is an integral part to your brand. You know that it's strategic, and you know that you'd be crazy, like if you owned it, to sell it for, 10 times more than the typical price of that domain name. But I'm digressing. Anyways, just kind of a fun video today. Like, what stage are you in? I mean, as you move along, I'd have you consider also that like the best brands in the world, they hit stage 5 very quickly. They lock in the raw essence of their brand, the raw version of their brand in the .com. And, strategically, they're set from a strategic standpoint. Now, you got to fulfill the other things, but I would have you, like, my thesis is your domain equals your brand equity. And it's a very important aspect and a very important part of the equation of trust. Okay, and trust leads to conversion. It leads to long-term customers. It leads to profit. Okay, so it's very important there. That's it. That's all. That's the video today. I'm going to try to get back into doing more videos. Shoot me a link, shoot me a comment down below if there's something you'd like me to talk about. Just getting back into the groove of this. Make sure you share this up. Make sure you go to chriszuiker.com. Make sure you go to mediaoptions.com. Got a lot of really, really good, strong domain names for marketing. Check it out. You just got done listening to another episode of .com Strategies. Check us out online at chriszuiker.com and at mediaoptions.com.